My name is Dr. Ellen Henderson and I'm a lecturer in health psychology here at Ulster University. And this project was designed to explore factors influencing participation in sports for non-elite sportswomen related to menstruation and menstrual pain. So this study is a collaboration between myself here at the School of Psychology at Ulster University and Dr. Gavin Breslin at the School of Psychology in Queen's University and some colleagues at the Ulster University School of Sport. We conducted a survey of three sets of participants. We looked at governing bodies of sports in Northern Ireland and across the UK and in the Republic of Ireland. We also looked at sports coaches as well, and then we sent out a survey to non-elite sportswomen as well, where we looked at kind of what happens to them exactly around menstruation and menstrual pain, what they're doing in order to try and increase their participation or perhaps decrease their participation at this time in sports, and what influences menstruation might have on their overall well-being. This is a very understudied area of research, so we don't really know an awful lot about menstruation and menstrual pain generally, and we especially don't know an awful lot about how it influences non-elite sports people. We don't know about the influence on just an everyday person who likes to play sports maybe once or twice a week in their local club. So we wanted to look at that in a little bit more detail and kind of shed a little bit of light on that really understudied area of female participation in sport, which is so important. Karen and Roisin are really sort of example participants from the research.
I've been playing football my whole life. So recently I've moved clubs to Belfast Celtic FC. So far, it's only a couple of weeks in, but I really enjoy it. It's a good atmosphere and everyone is good crack and really supportive.
I've been coaching for about 21 years. I've been a member of Phoenix for 28 years and started coaching there when I turned 21.
Overall, sport has just boosted my self-esteem in general. And for me, compared to my other friends who maybe don't play sport, I feel like I'm very outgoing and can cope in different industries as well. We experience things that men don't, and so being in that community with other girls, it's really a welcoming environment and it will just boost your self-esteem and your own mental health, and you can help others and you'll have similar interests as well.
So if we have anyone new come along within our committee group, then we select someone who will make sure that person is acknowledged when they walk through the door, because as the coach I might not often have the time if I'm finishing with the session before and starting with the session coming in. So we've set up a buddy system so that will always be someone that they can go to and say hello to and be their partner for that first night.
So personally for me, I get really bad period on the first day or leading up to my first period. I'll get cramps in my thighs, which really isn't what you want when you're playing football, because sometimes it turns into the form of a muscle cramp. It's okay, I can manage during training because it's not a high pressure situation, but when I'm playing in a match and I'm in a pressurised situation, it's really off-putting because you want your full focus to be on the game. But if you're getting period cramps or feeling nauseous, your focus is going to be elsewhere, and that's where coaches and other players might get annoyed at you just because you're not there, you're not 100%, but you mightn't be comfortable saying, look, I'm on my period. That's how it affects me personally, but I know there's other girls that might skip training or skip matches as well because their periods are so bad.
I think probably I can look at this from a twofold perspective. From the Phoenix perspective, I think we're a very social club. I would say we're all friends. Most of us are out together quite regularly, so we have that conversational space where you can be really open and honest and say, oh my goodness, it's time of the month and I'm just not feeling it, or actually, they're potentially wearing something different because they're not potentially comfortable in their netball kit that week. From a Netball Northern Ireland perspective, we're probably much more structured as to how we approach it. Definitely within our athletes who would be on the performance pathway, making sure that they're educated around their cycle and educated around the challenges that can be within that in terms of injury prevention. I think from a coaching perspective, I would put a lot of emphasis on the athlete knowing themselves and knowing what they're capable of. For some people, it's the best pain relief is to get out and do a bit of exercise.
But whenever I do have my period, I'd also set open goals because I'm here, I'm at training. That's a positive. And if I participate in training, even if I am feeling bad, I'm like, oh my God, I'm training. And if I do make a mistake, I'm like, it's okay, I'm not feeling 100%. So that's how I can justify that. So I'm gonna allow for mistakes to happen. Like, I don't want mistakes to happen, but like, I have a justified reason to why. I'm also just try to prepare myself a little bit more mentally as well, just because I am feeling pain, but like mood-wise as well, I can become more agitated as well.
And I think it's around being able to have that conversation to say what works for you, because it's different for everyone. Some girls are really fortunate and they don't even know what's happening, and others actually need medication to deal with it. They do need to rest. So I suppose it's just finding what works for each individual and making sure that they're confident and comfortable enough to say to you, this is what I need to do right now and this is what I need support with. So from a coaching perspective, it's around being approachable. For me, that's probably the most important thing, that they're able to have that conversation and not frightened of what my response might be, because my response will always be, let's work together and let's see what we can do to make this easier for you.
The results of the study were actually really interesting. So what we found is that governing bodies do think that it's really important to think about menstruation and menstrual pain, and some of them do have some ideas around sort of policies that they could be developing, but these are really in kind of quite early stages for the majority of them. The coaches, we had a bit of a mixed bag. So some of them had had some experiences that they'd had themselves as a player that influenced the ways in which they spoke to women and girls around menstruation and menstrual pain. But what we found is that they really lacked any kind of formal or official training in this regard, and an awful lot of them did want to have a little bit more information about kind of how they could be approaching this with some of the female athletes that they're supporting, particularly the male coaches. They were really uncertain about things like the language that they should be using and the different things that they should be saying. One of the avenues for future research is to explore if there's a piece there around kind of how we could try and engage people more in sports and sports participation in order to try and alleviate some of the negative consequences of menstruation and menstrual pain in this population. But what we also found from those surveys of the non-elite sportswomen is that they were also concerned about potential barriers to sports participation on an ongoing basis as a result of menstrual pain. So they felt that they were kind of holding it together and they were coping really quite well and maintaining their sport despite any burden of symptoms that they had around menstruation, but they weren't sure that that was something that they would be able to continue on an ongoing basis. And they were specifically quite keen to try and work with their coaches in order to determine how best to train in a more optimal way around the time of menstruation, and also how to compete in a more optimal way around the time of menstruation. So one of the other directions for future research coming out of this is to try and look at the different ways in which we could educate women and girls, adolescents, young women who are engaging in sport in order to try and look at the different ways that they should be perhaps modifying their training to support menstruation, and to also give them a little bit more confidence around engaging in sport during menstruation and when they have menstrual pain.